Rico and Declan. Rico and Declan. It's the Rico and Declan College Football Show. Let's go!
Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 8 of the Rico and Declan College Football Show. I'm your host, Rico. Declan is asleep. He is in his crib. He is turning 9 months in how many days? Exactly 9 days. It's crazy how time is flying. Love that kid. He is my world. And shout out to my wife. She's doing an incredible job raising our son. And yeah, shout out to my family. But anyways, enough about that. We're going to go right into business, and we'll talk about some news that broke today. Brendan Sorsby is going to be eligible based off of his injunction. The Lubbock court declared him eligible, so the NCAA ruling of him not being eligible was disallowed. So he can play, but he's going to miss the first two regular season games, which are games that Texas Tech should win. I forgot who they were playing, but they're inferior opponents. But I'm going to talk about my opinion of what happened. I just broke what happened earlier today on Instagram, on the Rico and Declan College Football Show Instagram page on Reels. My opinion of this, it's, what are we doing? What are we doing? Sorsby was declared ineligible through the NCAA, and now a week later, the judge says, oh, he can play. The NCAA ruling means nothing. It means garbage. And it's crazy how many players and teams have gotten in trouble for violations, and now you have a player who admittedly said that he bet on games for Indiana while he was on Indiana. Over $90,000 he spent on betting on Indiana games while he was at Indiana, and he spent a lot more on other things. It's a travesty. It's a complete tragedy in the sport. I don't know what we're doing anymore, and the fact that he cannot be held accountable and learn from his lesson. He's not going to learn from anything. He basically got a slap on the wrist. Here you go, 2 games you're suspended for, but after those 2 games, you're eligible. What are we doing? And Texas Tech, they are probably going to be the most hated team in college football. I don't like them for this ruling. It's so biased, it's not even funny. The Lubbock judge that was originally on the case before, he was a graduate of Texas Tech. He removed himself from the case because he knew he would be biased. I don't know about this other judge, but still, the Lubbock court, the injunction happened in Lubbock, where Texas Tech is located at. They had a biased view, and that's why Sorsby got the injunction approved. He got his ban lifted. It's ridiculous, man. And it's basically saying that all these other violations that happened in the past, they mean nothing now. Reggie Bush got in trouble for autographs. He lost his Heisman Trophy. He got it back. Terrell Pryor, he got in trouble for autographs. He was ruled ineligible after that. Just listing off some examples. And then you have some other guys who got suspended maybe 3 or 4 games for the most minor thing. There was one college player who did $2,000 and change on bets. Can't play college football anymore. And now you have a guy that spent over $90,000, if not more, and he bet on the team that he was on as a QB, backup QB, with Indiana, with Sorsby. It's ridiculous. And I don't understand why they just gave him a slap on the wrist. It is a real mess, and you have teams openly saying they're not going to play against Texas Tech in any sports, not just college football. Georgia and Nebraska, which are not in the Big 12 conference, they have said that they are not going to play against Texas Tech at all. You have a majority of Big 12 teams, except for UCF and BYU, saying we're not going to play against Texas Tech at all during the college football season. Now, if they do that, then they're forfeiting their games. I think they obviously will play, but there's a lot of backlash. The Kansas State AD, I don't remember his name, he said it was effing BS. It's just a mess. It is a huge mess, and the fact that Sorsby got away with this, he's not going to really learn from anything. So the way I put it, let's say, for instance, I'm speeding, right? I'm going 100 miles per hour in a 65 mile per hour zone. In the state of Florida, if you are going over a certain amount in miles per hour, it's a criminal offense. It's not just a misdemeanor. It could be a felony. So if I was going 100 miles per hour in a 65 mile per hour zone, and I say to the cop, I'm sorry, I'm having a rough day. I'm an addict with driving fast. And the cop says, all right, I'll leave you off with a warning. That's essentially what Sorsby did here. He went to rehab for gambling, openly admitted on games he bet on as the Indiana backup for Indiana. And then the NCAA says, no, you can't play. But then this Lubbock judge says, yeah, you can play. It doesn't make sense, folks. I really hate this. It's going to be a slippery slope. And I think other players are going to look for loopholes in the system to get away with stuff. And there are going to be more violations to come. It's basically saying, okay, we are going to have him being an example. He could get away with this, so other players are going to try to do the same stuff too. Utterly a mistake. All right, enough about my Sorsby rant. Let's talk about the ACC. So tonight I'm previewing all, yes, you heard that correctly, all 18 ACC teams. I'm going to go and do a deep dive with some teams more so than others. Like, for instance, Florida State, that's my alma mater. I'm going to analyze them a little bit more than, say, Boston College. Clemson, I'll look at more. I think another interesting team is UNC. Bill Belichick in his second season. Is this the make or break year? If he doesn't improve on last season, are they going to fire him? Miami, I think Miami's the favorite. If I had to give a guess, I was looking at their schedule. They could easily go 11-1. They could go undefeated. Another team that I'm looking to bounce back, NC State. I thought NC State was disappointing last season. They were so up and down. They could have a better season. Virginia, I think, is going to fall off. Virginia Tech could be better with James Franklin. I don't think they're playoff caliber level ready at this moment, but there's all these different storylines to look through, and you have all these different transfers. You have Darian Mensah. I think he's going to be a huge asset for Miami, and I think he's going to be better than Carson Beck, personally. I think he has more upside, and I think he has more talent. With that being said, let's go over the ACC, and we'll do a team by team. So, guys, now I figured it out how to do share screen. I should have known this before, but, again, I'm brand new to podcasting, at least streaming. I did have a podcast, but it was only through SoundCloud. It was called The Ides of Rico. So, with that podcast, it was totally different. I would only do certain sports, and I didn't cover college football. I was into college football, but I wasn't covering it. But anyways, let's look at Miami first, and then we'll go from there. Hang on one second. All right, so we're looking at Miami here. Shows up on my screen. There we go. Again, folks, I am brand new to this, so if I mess up, do not kill the messenger. All right. So looking at this depth chart, you got an interesting wide receiver list. Malachi Toney's going to lead the way. He plays in the slot. Looking at Toney's stats, he had a great freshman season. Look at these numbers, man. he jumps out at you. He had 109 receptions for 1,211 yards and 10 touchdowns. He really stood out in the playoff games. Let's see if I can get rid of these ads. I don't know if I can. But anyways, he had 113 yards rushing and 1 touchdown. So he's a do-it-all guy. I think he's going to be the leader in this wide receiver room. I think he's the best player on their team, arguably. Not to say that Malachi Tony is, not to say Darian Mensah is the better guy here, but I do think he's the most talented receiver for Miami. And then they're obviously their QB, redshirt junior, Darian Mensah. His numbers, they speak, 34 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. He is a freak. I think he's just going to get better. I think he could have a 40 touchdown season. I think he is an ACC front runner for Player of the Year. I really do. And I think he's going to be a huge asset for the Hurricanes. I'm a Florida State guy, but I can admit it. The Hurricanes could go undefeated. They could go 11-1. I don't think they have a difficult schedule except for Notre Dame. We'll look at their schedule in a little bit. But those two guys stand out. And then obviously you have the running backs. I was really impressed with Mark Fletcher and Shamar Brown. Shamar Brown, I think, is going to have a bigger role this season. Yeah, his numbers, if we look them up, nothing is loading. My apologies. But Mark Fletcher, let's pull up his numbers. He had 1,192 yards rushing and 12 touchdowns. He's also a big back at 6'2", 225 pounds. And again, he's a guy that's going to get only better as the season goes along. And he did have a tremendous playoff. He went off against Ohio State. He did well against Texas A&M. Was very impressed by him. And then their tight ends, Elijah Lofton. I don't remember him, but he came on towards the end of the season, 6'3", 242 pounds, 23 receptions for 3 touchdowns, and 218 yards receiving. He's going into his senior season. So this is a guy that could definitely go off for them. Well, actually, no, he'd be a junior. So they have Luca Gilbert. He's 6'7", 255 pounds. He had 2 receptions for 37 yards. This is a guy that's probably going to factor in as their second tight end. He's going to definitely be a huge asset for them as well. And then if you look at their second receiver, because they lost some guys to the draft, guys graduated, they have Cooper Barkate. That name sounds familiar. Oh, yeah, he played at Duke. Cooper Barkate is a very good possession receiver. As you see, he had 72 receptions for 1,000 yards and 1,106 yards and 7 touchdowns. This is a guy that also got better as the season got along. He's transferring with Mensah. There's a familiarity between the two guys. He's going to be receiver 2 to Tony. And then you also have Verdarius Jacobs. He was another guy that came around. He's actually from Fort Pierce, which is near where I actually teach. I teach in Port St. Lucie. So Verdarius Jacobs, 32 receptions with 548 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's going into his junior year season. So these are some guys to look out for them. I do think Tony's the best player on the team. Let's look at their defense. There was a guy that really stood out. Was it Omar Forden? he had a good season. Omar Thornton's going to his junior year. He had 56 total tackles, four forced fumbles. He's coming from Boston College. I talked about him in the transfer portal, actually, with 1 interception and 1 pass deflection. Omar Thornton is underrated. He played on a really bad Boston College team, and he really stood out for them. And he made a great choice by going over to the Canes. Zachariah Poser. He's going into his junior year. He had 6 pass deflections, a forced fumble, and 42 solo tackles. I'm trying to think. Was it Ethan O'Connor? Yes, Ethan O'Connor was the guy that is probably going to get more reps now. He had 22 tackles with 5 pass deflections. I think it was Isaiah Taylor. No. They had a guy. He had like 2 interceptions. Xavier Lucas. Xavier Lucas is a good player, though. He had 8 pass deflections, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, and 30 tackles. He's a good player. Bryce Fitzgerald, maybe? I don't know. It's not showing up as stats. They had a kid that had a good showing in the playoff. I might be getting mixed up with Oregon, but that's their secondary. Let's look at their linebackers. Romanus Frederick Jr., he had 12 solo tackles, 7 pass deflections. So he's another guy that could get better. Mohamed Tour. He's coming from Rutgers. 2 sacks, 38 solo tackles. Or he played for Rutgers the year before. Chase Smith. Another guy that's probably going to get more reps. They had a lot of guys leave, like Bain left. Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, I'm totally new to this, guys, with the share screen, so if I make any mistakes, don't worry. I think I heard about Lightfoot. Lightfoot had 2.5 sacks with 16 solo tackles. Mohamed Martin. He had 4.5 sacks. He's good against the run. He played really good in the playoff. Justin Scott. He had 1 sack and then 1 forced fumble. Their defense is not as good as last year because without Bain, they don't have as good of a pass rush. Marquez Quarter. Oh, yeah, they're getting him from Ohio State. He's going to be good against the run. He didn't get that many reps at Ohio State. That's why he transferred. You have Keona Davis. He's coming from Nebraska. He had 18 solo tackles and 1.5 sacks. I mean, they have guys that know how to play. Damari Brown. Yeah. So when we look at their roster, I think their strong point is their offense. I don't think their defense I don't think it's as good as last year, but the offense makes up for it. I think they're going to score more points, actually, especially with Mensah at the helm instead of Carson Beck. I think Mensah is a better player than Carson Beck. So now let's look at their schedule, and I'll give you my win and loss record for them. okay. When we look at their roster, let's look at their schedule. So they start off at Stanford. I think that's a win. I think Stanford is still in a rebuild. They have a new head coach. They haven't been relevant since Andrew Luck, let's be honest. Actually, since Christian McCaffrey. But still, that was eons ago. That was over a decade ago. That was, 11 years ago. Florida A&M, that's a win. So they're 2-0. It's interesting. They have 2 night games. No, they have 4 night games to start off the season. Wow. So they're 2-0 here. At Wake Forest, some people will say that's a trap game. I'm not going to say it's a trap game. That's a win. They'll be 3-0. Versus Central Michigan, that's a random matchup. That's an easy win. So they're 4-0. Here's where it's going to get a little tricky. At Clemson. Really depends on how Clemson plays. Clemson had a terrible season last season, and they can only go up. Do I think they're going to be better than last season? Yes. But I don't know. Miami with Mensa, I think they could shock some people. So I don't know about that. I feel like Mensa, I got to look at his road numbers, but I think they can go in there and win that game. But then again, it could be a loss. I'm going to say, if I had to bet my life on it, I will say that's a loss. Because Death Valley, especially if that's a night game, which it could be possibly, but I could see it like being a 12 o'clock or 3:30 game. That's going to be very hard for Mensa to play under those lights. And I know he beat Clemson before when he was with Duke, but this is a different task, and it's at Clemson. So I'm going to say that's a loss. So now they're 4-1. Okay, against my Seminoles, that's a win. 5-1. I just don't think Florida State's going to be that good. I think Florida State's going to regress. It's also a home game for the Hurricanes, so we haven't been 5-1. Versus Pittsburgh, again, that's a win. Pittsburgh, they started off hot, but then they crashed and burned at the end of the season. So now they're 6-1 at North Carolina. Yes, North Carolina is, but they're not really that good. So that's a win. So now they're sitting at 7-1. They have only 1 loss and 1 conference loss. At Notre Dame, I'm going to say that's a loss, so 7-2. Versus Duke, that's a win, 8-2. Versus Virginia Tech, that's a win, 9-2. And versus Boston College, that's a win. I'm going to say they're 10-2, but their best they can go at is 11-1. I don't think they're going to beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame, but I do think they're going to, make that Clemson game close. So that's the only game I would say is a coin flip. But again, if I had to bet my money on it, I would take Clemson over Hurricanes for that game, which is on October 3rd. All right, so now that we're done with Miami, let's go on to talk about my Seminoles. So we have Miami at 10-2. They will have 1 loss in the ACC, according to my predictions. So they would be a favorite to win the ACC. I am picking them to win the ACC, so we'll see who I have them going against. And it's not going to be my Seminoles, I will say that. All right, Seminoles. All right. So, Mike Norvell, the thing about him is that he has had such an up and down trajectory at his time at Florida State. He's had some good seasons, and he's had some really forgettable seasons, including last season. Do I think they're better than last season? No, I don't. I think they've regressed. He doesn't know how to recruit. He doesn't know how to get transfers. He had transfers that one season, but now this is going to be an issue with the team. Sorry, I thought I pulled up the roster. Here we go. So they got he already named the star Ashton Daniels. I'm not an Ashton Daniels fan. He was the backup at Auburn. He played a little bit because Their QB was not efficient, so they were like, all right, let's switch it up. Ashton Daniels, he's labeled as dual threat. He does have he has rushing abilities. The most rushing yards he had was 2024 as a sophomore, and that was with Stanford. He had 669 yards and 3 TDs. He has 8. Sorry about the ads here. He has 8 rushing. He has 8 rushing touchdowns in his career. But if you look at his completion percentage, 57%, that's not going to cut it. And especially when you're playing against subpar defenses, again, that's not going to cut it. And he's already played in the ACC before with Stanford, and look how that turned out. It didn't work out at all. So this is a guy that I don't trust. I don't think he should be QB1. I think they should have honestly put in Kevin Sperry. I thought Kevin Sperry played decent in the times that he was in. This is a small sample size, but he's going into his sophomore season. He had a 70%, almost, if you round it up, 71% completion rate, 2 touchdowns. Again, he didn't have that many chances. He would come in during garbage time, or if the QB got hurt. So I don't understand why Sperry is not the starter. I honestly think he's better than Ashton Daniels. And then they have Malachi Marshall. And there's not really any information about him. He's a transfer from Iowa Western Community College. So I just don't like the QB situation. I don't think it's going to work. And when you have Ashton Daniels as your starter, that's really, really problematic. All right, so now if you look at the receivers, Deuce Robinson, he was their best receiver last season. I was surprised he came back, honestly. I thought he was going to leave and transfer somewhere else. He's going into his senior season. He had 56 receptions for 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. Deuce, in some games, he would show up, and then other games he regressed. And he does get hurt a lot. He has a history of injuries. So I don't know how he's going to perform with a dual threat QB like Ashton Daniels, who doesn't really have a deep ball. I'll be real with you. I haven't seen him do that in games that I watched with either Auburn or Stanford. So I think Deuce is going to regress. Next up, we have Mekhi Danzy. I liked Mekhi a lot. I thought he had a lot of speed. He's still figuring out routes. He was a track star. 27 receptions for 571 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. He didn't play every down. He was one of those receivers that would have him on certain slots. He's going to get better. But again, you have a QB that's not that good. And honestly, I think our QB last season was better. Who was the QB last season? I'm going to look this up. I should know. Tommy Castellanos. Castellanos, he would throw the deep ball here and there. He was sporadic, but he was definitely better than Ashton Daniels. Anybody but Daniels, man. So I think Mekhi Danzy's going to go and regress. We have Devin Carter. He's a freshman, 6'1", 170 pounds. He's from Atlanta. He will definitely get his reps because this receiving group it's very thin. We have another redshirt freshman, Tashawn Gelsey. I don't remember him playing. He's 6'4", 235 pounds. So maybe he'll play as a receiving route runner guy. And then you have Tariq Mallory, who's also a redshirt freshman. So there's not that many guys that could be thrown to. Javon Boggs, I like Javon. He played good during the season, but he got hurt. So again, small sample size, but he has to stay healthy. That's the whole thing with him. With running backs, we have Wisner. Wisner, I covered when I talked about the running back transfer portal. Wisner could be good, but he got hurt. And I think he knew what was going on with Texas. That's why he transferred. He had honestly a better sophomore season. If you look at his numbers, 1,000 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns, and then in 2025 he had only 131 rushing attempts to 597 yards and 3 touchdowns. And the reason why was because he got hurt. So he has to stay healthy, and he's going into his senior season, so we'll see. Again, he could be a diamond in the rough, but it's also a question mark with his health. And then they have Kamara. I like Kamara a lot, but there were times where he would be non-existent. He fumbled the ball a few times. He's a big back, though. He's 6'1", 218 pounds. Surprised he didn't score a touchdown. I could have sworn he scored a touchdown. He had a receiving touchdown, but not a rushing touchdown. That's odd. But he's going to get more reps, and I honestly think if Wisner gets hurt, he's going to be the next guy they call up. And then they have Samuel Singleton, who's a redshirt freshman. I don't know anything about him. 5'11", sorry. That would be an insult. 5'11", 201 pounds. He did have 360 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. So I didn't really watch Singleton as much as Kamara and Wisner. I think Wisner is going to get hurt probably, and then they're going to have to go and rely on Kamara instead. But yeah, the offense it's not good, and the offensive linemen, they were so disappointing last season. I'm not very confident with them this season either. You have the Desire twins, Mandrell and Durrell. I really like the way they play. He had 6.5 sacks. His brother had, let's see, I think he had 5.5 or 6 also. He had only 1. So yeah, you could obviously see which brother is better. It's Mandrell. Kevin Wynn, I think I remember watching. Yeah, he didn't get any reps. I don't know why the name sounds familiar. Jordan Sanders, he's transferring over from Texas Tech. Cal Poly, he had 1 forced fumble. Chris Jones, he had 3.5 sacks. He's going to get more reps this season. I like Chris Jones a lot. Rylan Kennedy, he had 2 sacks. So the defense, at times, they could be very dominant. When they played against Alabama, they showed up. But then games like against Pitt didn't show up. Against Miami, really didn't show up. So they're kind of up and down. They're unpredictable. We're going to really miss Earl Little with the secondary, because Barker, if I'm looking at his stats, he did have 2 pass deflections and 26 solo tackles. So he can only get better, but I don't know, man. Nehemiah Chandler, he had 2 interceptions, so he could be decent. 13 pass deflections. Also, I don't analyze special teams. That's not my thing. So if you're looking for that, go to a different podcast. I'm only analyzing offense and defense, folks. Blake Nicholson. Nicholson had 1 sack, 24 tackles solo. Yeah, Nicholson can definitely get more reps. Daniel Lyons, I remember watching him, I think. He had 2 sacks, yeah. So their defensive line is good, but it's not great. Jabril Rawls, I remember watching. He had 1 interception and 2 pass deflections. I thought he did more. He's from Pensacola. Wow, I did not know that. Quindarius Jones, that name sounds familiar. He played very little. Charles Lester didn't really play much. Omar Graham, he played a little bit more. I'm sorry about that. You get all these different ads, man. They're so annoying. Kevin Wynn. I think I already went over him. Yeah. All right, so when I look at this roster, the defense will be better than the offense. I honestly, personally believe that. Yeah, that's going to be the whole thing here. All right, I'm going to go over how they're going to perform. So I have Miami at 10-2, possibly 11-1 at best. So now I'm going to go over Florida State. And by the way, I'm going to write this down on my phone because I'm going to post my standings in a little bit. Yeah, so I'm going to put this in my notes. This is good. All right. So now let's go over the Florida State schedule. I got to share screen this. Still getting used to it. So we got what? 16 teams left to do after this. We got a long night, folks. I am going to take a restroom break in a little bit. Right after I go over this. Did I share it? Oh, there we go. All right, so the Florida State Seminoles schedule for 2026. All right, so we start off against New Mexico State. I'm going to say that's a win, 1-0. Versus SMU. SMU had a disappointing season last season. I think Rhett Lashley is going to have them perform a lot better this season. Kevin Jennings, especially, their QB, is going to have a better season than last season. I think they're just going to improve. I think they're one of the outside favorites to win the ACC, and they could be an outside contender for a playoff spot. They could actually sneak in. So I'm going to say that's a loss. I know it's a home game, but I just don't think we are that good of a team. And I'm surprised that's a night game on ESPN. I honestly thought that we were going to get a 12 o'clock game. So I'm going to say we're 1-1 at Alabama. Come on now. Come on. We're not winning that game. I know we beat them last season, but that was a farce. That was fugazi. It was not real. It was real in that moment. It did happen, but let's be real. Alabama's going to be a lot better this season. I think they're a favorite to win the SEC, and the SEC is a different ball game than the ACC. So I'm going to say that's a loss. I think we're going to get killed that game. It'll be over after the first quarter. So 1-2. Versus Central Arkansas, we'll beat them 2-2. Versus Virginia. Okay, so Virginia, I got to look at their roster. I'm not familiar with who they have, but they did beat us in that epic overtime game over in Charlottesville. Do I think we get revenge against them? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that's a loss. So I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm not biased. As much as I would love for us to beat Virginia, I don't believe it. I don't think it's going to happen. They're going up, we're going down. So I'm going to say that's a loss. So now we're 2-3. Louisville, at Louisville, night game at a Friday night. We suck on Friday nights, man. I don't remember the last time we won a Friday night game. That's a loss. I think Louisville is a better team, and they're ascending. We're descending. So now we're 2-4. Yeah, 2-4. That's the realism. At Miami, I already told you this before when I went over Miami. That's a loss. 2-5. Versus Clemson, that's a loss. 2-6. And I know it's at home, but I still think we're going to lose against Clemson. So that's 2-6. At Boston College, I'll say that's a win. 3-6. At Pitt, that's a loss. So that's 3-7. Versus NC State, that's a loss, 3-8. And versus Florida, that's a loss, 3-9. I think we're like a 3-9 at best, 4-8, maybe 5-7. The games I know for a fact we're definitively going to lose at Miami versus Clemson, at Louisville, which is a Friday night game. We stink at Friday night games. You could say the at Pittsburgh game because that's a night game, but it's on the East Coast. Well, Florida's on the East Coast, but you get what I mean. Like they're playing up north. That's going to be a difficult route for them. But I honestly, I just don't like the way the roster is constructed, man. And I don't think we have it to the realm of like, okay, we're going to be, contenders here. I just don't see it. And I think 3-9 is maybe the best they can go at. Let me put that on my standings here. I might do 2 parts for tonight. I don't know. I gotta see what I'm doing. So I'm saying 2 part, 1 part tonight and the other part tomorrow. I might, because 18 teams is a lot. So I'm gonna say we're gonna be 3-9 at best, 4-8, maybe 5-7. Because you know what, they could win the game against Virginia, but we'll see. Folks, I'll be right back. I gotta use the restroom. All right, so now back. We are going to go over the next team is Clemson. So let's look at their roster. Yeah, this might be at least an hour, 20-minute, maybe hour, 30-minute podcast. I might break it down. Let me look at my phone here. So I've done Florida State and Miami. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Clemson next. Then I'll do Duke, North Carolina, and Georgia Tech. So I'll cover 6 teams today, and we'll cover 6 more teams tomorrow. And then we'll cover the last 6 on Wednesday, because it's a lot of teams, man. It's 18 teams, and I do want to cover everybody. But anyways, let's go back to business. Let's go over Clemson. So Clemson, they started playing Christopher Vienza because Klubnik was he got hurt and he was playing inconsistent. So Vienza, he played good in the time that he was in the lineup. Big kid, 6'4", 2-ton. They had 4 touchdowns to 1 interception. So he didn't play a lot, but I do think he's going to get more reps now that he's the starter, obviously. Do I think he's better than Klubnik? Well, I'll see. Well, we shall see, because he didn't really play last season. They have Gideon Davidson. He's penciled in as the starter. But honestly, I think everybody is saying the starter will be their transfer. Whoa, sorry about that, folks. I don't know why that got. Chris Johnson Jr. So Chris Johnson, he's coming from SMU. He played also at Miami. He had 479 yards and 4 touchdowns, as you can see. Johnson is talented. And he's gotten more reps each season. He's going to be a vocal point in their offense. They also have David Zumine. He didn't play that much, but he will get more reps now as the third tailback. Their running backs are good. I think they have better running backs than we do. Their wide receivers, Bryant Wesco, he got hurt. Wesco's a good player. 31 receptions, 537 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's 6'2", 190. He's just going to get better, I feel like. TJ Moore, don't know anything about him. He had a good season, too. He had 52 receptions and 837 yards and 16. He averaged 16 yards per catch and 4 touchdowns. So he's going to be an interesting guy. Cole Turner, he's a senior as well. He probably will get more reps. Tyler Brown. Tyler Brown is a good player. He just gets hurt a lot. And if you look at his numbers, he had a really good freshman season, but then he regressed. His sophomore season got hurt, and then I think he was hurt last season too. So he's a guy that when he's healthy, he's productive, but that's the whole thing. He needs to stay healthy to be in that realm. And they have Chase Bird. Didn't do much. Naeem Burrows. He's a freshman. He could be very good for them. I think he's 5'11 or 5'10. Who is their tight end? Pat Henry Olsen from Naples. Didn't do much. Christian Benker. They have a lot of guys I don't know or I'm not familiar with. Benker, he played a lot for them. He's a blocking tight end too, but he can catch. And then they have Logan Brooking, who's a redshirt freshman. Again, another big kid, 6'4", 235 pounds. So their tight ends are definitely more talented than Florida State's. Then you look at their defense, Jaheim Lawson. They play a 4-2-5. He had 3.5 sacks. He's a senior. London Merritt, coming from Colorado. I think I covered about him. He had only 1 sack. He's a guy that probably will get more reps. C.J. Wesley, coming from Howard. I don't know anything about him. Andy Borabuja. I don't think I'm pronouncing his last name right. Again, this is another community college transfer. I don't know anything about him. Vic Barley. He didn't do much. Champ Thompson. Two tackles, 1 sack. Let's go over Amar Adams, defensive tackle. Again, they have a lot of no-name guys that I don't really watch Clemson. I feel like I've heard of Marcus Strong. If it loads. Yeah, sorry, folks. He played at Oklahoma. I remember covering him in the transfer portal. He had 1 sack. Courtney Kelly. Again, another guy that comes from some community college, I guess. I don't know. Will Helt, I know about. He's probably their best player on defense. He really stands out. He had 7.5 sacks. He had 5 sacks the year before. So Will Helt is one of their staples on defense. I was surprised he came back. I thought he was going to declare for the draft. I feel like I've heard of Kobe McLeod. He had 1 sack. Oh, sorry. Fletcher Cochran? He didn't really play. Jeremiah Alexander. I've heard of Sammy Brown. Let's go over Sammy Brown next. He had 5 sacks. Yeah, their linebackers are good. Elliott Washington, he transferred from somewhere. Penn State, yeah. He's talented. That was one of the better, sorry about that. The computer's acting up tonight. Brendan Sorsby. He had 5 pass deflections. He's a guy that could probably get better. Corey Myrick came from Southern Miss, and Marshall, good numbers for him. A big safety too, 6'3", 200 pounds. They could probably put him in linebacker too if they want. Ashton Hampton. 9 pass deflections. Their corners are good. I like their secondary a lot. Did I go over Jerome Carter? Old Dominion, he had a nice season. 6 interceptions. Yeah, Jerome Carter is definitely underrated for them. Corian Gibson. I might have gone over him before. Diamond Star. Comes from Auburn. Another guy that could probably will get more reps. I'm impressed with their defense. I think it's really good. Let's look at their schedule. I think they're better than Florida State for sure. Their running backs and their QB are definitely better than ours. So let's go over their schedule. So far I have Florida State at 3-9, at best 4-8. Miami 10-2, at best 11-1. So now Clemson, which finished 7th in the ACC last season, that was crazy. They start off against Lane Kiffin and the Tigers in Death Valley at LSU. I don't know why this is a primetime game. I don't think Clemson is nearly as good as it used to be. And I think that ESPN probably has this obligation to have their games on primetime just because. I don't like Dabo Swinney, and I don't like Lane Kiffin. So I'm not going to root for either team. But if I had to, put money on it, I would definitely take LSU. So I'm going to say that's a loss, or they're 0-1. That's a non-conference game, so that's not going to affect them. Versus Georgia Southern, their first home game, that's a win. Versus UNC, that's a win. I don't think Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels work. It was a disaster last season. I don't think it's going to be that much better this season. I'll go over UNC tonight. At Cal, I'm going to say that's a win. I just don't think Cal's that good. I know that the Tigers are traveling to the West Coast, and that could play a difference, but honestly, I just don't see them losing that game. It is a Friday night game. That is interesting. So that could be a toss-up game, but I'll take Clemson. So I got them at 3-1 versus Miami. I'll say that's a law. That game is a toss-up. If they go in to that game, they're 4-1, or no, if they're 4-0 or 3-1, right? I have them at 3-1, and Miami is undefeated. You know for a fact that Death Valley is going to be rocking for that game, and it's going to be a night game. So I'm going to say that's a win. I'm confident in saying that. I think they pull off the upset. I think Miami's going to be a higher ranked team when that's all said and done. But for that game, it's going to be lit. So I'm going to say that's a win. So they're 4-1 versus Charleston Southern. That's a win, 5-1. Versus Virginia Tech, that's a win, 6-1. At Florida State, like I said before, that's a win, 7-1. I know they've had troubles with Syracuse, and it's at Syracuse, but I'm going to say that's a win, 8-1. Versus Georgia Tech, that is a win, so they're going to be 9-1. And then at Duke, you know what? I'll say that's a win. So they're 10-1. And then versus South Carolina, it's a home game. I just don't think South Carolina is that good. They were terrible last season. I'm going to say that's a win. So they're 11-1, and they'll have the same record as Miami. I honestly think they have a cupcake schedule, man. When you look at these games, when they're playing against Virginia Tech, Florida State, at Syracuse, at Georgia Tech, at Duke, they can win all those games. Now the question is, can their roster stay healthy? That's the problem. And I think last season they had a lot of injuries. They had a lot of negativity in the locker room. Now that's gone. They have a different roster. They have better players than last season, honestly. And Vienzna, I think he's a decent QB. I think he could be better than Klubnik. They even said that he could be better than Klubnik. So, call me crazy. I think they're an 11-1 team. Again, it all hinges on their defense and how they perform. But when we look at their roster, I'm very impressed with their linebackers. I'm very impressed with their secondary. Their running backs are very good. And the receivers, if they stay healthy, they're also impressive. So sky's the limit. I will say that sorry, that's Lexi. I'll say Clemson, 11-1 at best. They could be 10-2, but I'll say 11-1 definitively. And at worst, 10-2. So we'll put that down on the standings. Alright. 10-2. So yeah, I think Clemson and Miami are going to play against each other in the ACC championship. The way it's looking so far, based off of my predictions. All right, next up we got. So like I said before, I'm pretty much doing 6 teams tonight, 6 teams tomorrow, and 6 teams on Wednesday. Because this is a big conference. It's 18 teams. I'm not going to do all 18 at tonight. Initially, that was my thought. But we're running at 58 minutes. I don't want to be doing an hour-and-a-half episode. All right, who's up next? Louisville, I think I'll cover tomorrow. You know, we'll cover Duke next. Let's do that. Oh, I don't know where the heck I just pressed. Sorry, folks. There we go. Try to look. Oh, here we go. Still getting used to things here. All right, Duke's roster. Let's look at it. Scroll down. All right, so their QB is Walker Edgett. He's coming from San Jose State. Those numbers are not great, especially in the Mountain West Conference. The Mountain West Conference is not really known for its defense. So that's what they're working with, because I believe they were thinking that Mensah was going to come back. He decided to leave. It led to a lawsuit. Then they dropped the lawsuit, and they let him walk on by to Miami to transfer over to. He's going to go over a better situation. And then their receiver also left with him. So, yeah, Walker Edgett not there. They have Dan Mannon as their backup. He's a redshirt freshman. Yeah, I don't know anything about this kid. And their first string QB is Ari Patu. Don't know anything about him. He transferred from Stanford. So their QB situation's not great, as you can see. Javon Nichols. He's coming from Charlotte. He had a nice season, 60 receptions for 740 yards and 5 touchdowns. Javen, you're going to a worse situation. I just don't think he's going to replicate that. I might be wrong. Jamian Little. This is a guy that didn't play last season. Jaden Moore. Yeah, the receivers are. They don't really have anybody that stands out. Quinn Johnson. Again, he didn't play. Jared Richardson. He's coming from Penn. This is not good. Javon Solomon. Dude, their receivers are terrible. They have a bunch of kids who never played before or played D2 or D1. They didn't play in the FBS level. Yeah, their receivers are really stretched thin. It's a weak spot. What about the running backs? Nate Shepard. I feel like he played for them last season. I might be wrong. Yeah, he did. Shepard's a good player. I'm surprised he came back, considering that Mensah left. The other receiver, their main receiver, he also left. So he's going to carry a lot of their workload. C.J. Campbell. He's coming from Rutgers, Florida Atlantic, Florida State. Like, he transferred all over the place. Not impressive. And then lastly, Wilhelm Dahl. That's what I'm saying, man. They got like a lot of no-names. Shepard's a good player. I remember Shepard going off in the ACC championship. And then their tight ends, Jeremiah Halsey. He's good. Halsey's good. Nate Karinsky. Came from Louisville. Decent numbers. They'll probably be there for blocking. Jake Taylor. Didn't do much. Yeah, so their offense is very minuscule. It's not very impressive. All right, let's run by their defense quickly, because I do want to cover Georgia Tech will be next, and then UNC, and then we'll be calling in tonight. All right. Preston Watson. So half a sack. I'm just picking random people. This guy had 2 pass deflections. He's not going to be that good. Dylan Flowers. Their secondary is it's very thin, man. Yeah, they're not going to be good. Oh, sorry about that, folks. As I said, my computer it acts up at times. I'm working with a lot of tabs. I should work with less. I'll probably do that in a little bit. Landon Callahan. That's a cool name, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Doesn't have really good numbers. Deshaun Stone. He's a junior. He looks a lot older than a junior, man. Big kid too, 6'3", 200 pounds. He had a nice season. 2 interceptions, 3 pass deflections, and 46 total tackles. Could play in the NFL if he keeps it up. Yeah, he looks a lot older than a junior. He looks like he's 25, 26. Patrick Smith Young. I feel like I've heard of him. Yeah, he played for North Texas. They didn't really do much. That defense was terrible for them, too. Nick Morris. Yeah, I mean, when you look at their defense, it's very weak. Kevin O'Connor. I think they lost some guys to the draft. Owen Waffle. Didn't do much, played for Penn State and Michigan. Tyshawn Reed. Bryce Davis. Yeah, I got a lot of no-names. Dakota Canovas. Comes from Dartmouth. Yeah, they have a lot of guys transferring from Ivy League schools. Some guys transferring from Penn. I feel like I've heard Margot. I feel like Margot was good for them. He had 2 interceptions. I think he had an interception in the ACC championship game against Virginia that sealed the deal. Margot's good. David Anderson. Yeah, they got a lot of no names. All right, I'm going to go and skim by them. Let's pull up. Hang on one second, folks. I had all these tabs open, because initially, there we go. Initially, I thought I was going to cover all 18 tonight, but I realized, I was in for more than what I bargained for. So I'm going to just analyze after Duke. We'll have Georgia Tech and UNC, and I think that will be it. But let me look at their schedule here. I got to pull it up here. Duke football schedule, yeah, because it's getting late. And I am tired. New content creation is a hassle. Not really a hassle, it's just crazy. So Duke last season, as we mentioned before, won the ACC championship. They did not win the regular season, but they won the conference championship game, which people are trying to get rid of. I would hate that because that means more teams in the playoff, which I've already said before in this podcast I'm not a fan of. Let's go over their schedule. All right, so they're starting off against Tulane. Don't know much about Tulane, but I know that Summerall is leaving for Florida. He's no longer their coach, and the coach they got wasn't a good coach to begin with. So I will say that's a win because it's a home game. So 1-0. At Illinois, they played against Illinois last season, and they got shellacked by the Illini. I think they lost that game. And I thought that Mensa was going to go off in that one, but he didn't. So I'm going to say that's a loss because it's at Illinois. So 1-1. Versus Stanford. I got to look at Stanford's roster, but honestly, because it's at Duke, I'll take Duke. So Duke will be 2-1. Versus William & Mary, that's a win, 3-1. At Georgia Tech, I'm going to say that's a loss, 3-2. Versus North Carolina, I'll give it to Duke. So they're 4-2. At Virginia, that's a loss, 4-3. Versus Boston College, that's a win, 5-3. At NC State, that's a loss, 5-4. At Miami, that's a loss, 5-5. Versus Clemson, like I said before, I think they'll lose against them as well, even though it's a home game, 5-6. And at Wake Forest, I'm going to say that's a loss too. So I got them at 5-7. I think that's a good number. Could they beat Wake Forest at Wake Forest? Yeah, crazier things have happened, but I got to see it to believe it. And then they might win at Illinois, but I doubt it. So yeah, I think 5-7 is the realistic picture of what they'll go, but at best maybe 6-6. I don't think they're better than a 500 team. So I'll put that down on my notes. We'll have them at 5-7, but at best 6-6. All right, so we got two more teams to cover, Georgia Tech and UNC. I'll cover UNC next because I will talk about my thoughts with Bill Belichick and being a college football coach. It's just not a good match. So yeah, we got Duke going 5-7 at best, 6-6. The reason why I have Duke winning more games than Florida State is because Duke has an easier schedule. They have some cupcake games, man. And with Florida State, it's just I just don't see it working out. I can see Norvell getting fired midseason. I would hope for that. I don't wish for people to get fired, but man, like his time has run its course. We need to change ship, man. We got to change up the program. All right, let's go over to the next team, and that is UNC. Yeah, so we'll cover two more teams tonight. We'll cover 6 more teams tomorrow, 6 teams on Wednesday. Tomorrow's episode I'm gonna record later because the Stanley Cup is on. Big hockey fan. All right, UNC football depth chart. All right, I'll pull that up on my screen here. Again, folks, I am getting better at this. I love doing this, and hopefully I get more followers. So like, comment, and subscribe. You guys will help me get more into this. I'm already into this, but I'll get more into this. All right, so let's look at this roster for the Tar Heels and Bill Belichick. They have Billy Edwards Jr. He's a transfer. He's coming from Maryland. Billy Edwards, at times, is talented. His sophomore season, he had 2,881 yards passing, 15 touchdowns to 9 picks. He had 148 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. His freshman season, he had 7 rushing touchdowns. So with Billy last season, I think he got hurt. Let me look that up. Yeah, he had a grade 3 PCL strain, and he actually transferred. He went from Maryland to Wisconsin, but he started out at Wake Forest. So he's kind of bounced around. I don't have high expectations for him, but I do think he's better than Duke's QB. Damon June. He played good for them. I think he's going to get more reps. Definitely get more reps. Benjamin Hall. So their running backs are decent. They're not Shepard level, though. I think Shepard's a better running back than both of these guys. This guy transferred from LSU, but obviously didn't get enough carries. He's a truck. 6 feet, 234 pounds. My gosh. They have a lot of transfers. Jelani Furman. He's coming from Ohio State. He's a big kid, 6'6", 250. He could definitely be a factor. Jordan Washington comes from Texas. They might work with a two tight end set like Belichick had with the Patriots with Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski. Jackson Warren, 6'8", 245. Whoa. They got some trucks on their tight end list, man. Let's look at the receivers. Jordan Shipp. He had a good season. He's going into his junior year. Probably going to be a top. He'd probably be a draft pick. I would say first 2 rounds he'll go. Probably second round. Madrid Tucker. Didn't do much. Nathan Leacock. Didn't do much. Yeah, they only have one receiver. Mason Humphrey. He went to Lehigh. Carnell Warren. Triage Kikakuna. Come from Wisconsin. He did all right. If I mess up last names, still getting used to it. Shenard Clower. He's good. Decent. Young too. 5'9", 165. So he's probably like a slot receiver. He is a slot receiver, okay. Yeah, their offense is decent. I think they have a better offense than Duke, honestly. I might actually put that down as a loss for Duke. So maybe they'd be 4-8. This kid's from West Palm Beach. Wow. Palm Beach Central. That's not too far away from where I live. They have him starting, I guess. Wow. Isaiah Johnson, nose tackle, 2 sacks, 20 tackles. Leroy Jackson, didn't do much. Troy Brown, he went to Florida last season, didn't do much, so that's why he transferred. Peyton Seelman comes from Richmond. That's a random school. I didn't even know they had college football in Richmond. Derek McDonald came from Syracuse. They have him penciled in as a star, but it could change. Their linebackers are not good. They're not that good. Duke has better linebackers. Jalen Harvey. That's what I'm saying. Their linebacking core is weak. Like, their offense is decent. Like, they have better tight ends than Duke, but their running backs and their defense are weak, man. Jaden Patterson. All right, Patterson was decent. Greg Smith. Caleb Cost. The secondary's all right. Yeah, they don't really stand out to me. I'll still pick Duke in that game. All right, let's look at their schedule. So I have Duke penciled in at a 5-7. North Carolina was 13th in the ACC. Do they improve? Let's see. All right, we're going to do Georgia Tech next, and then we'll call it a night because we're going on almost an hour and 30 minutes. It's pretty crazy. All right, versus TCU. It's a home game. I'm going to say that's a loss. I think TCU is a better team. They embarrassed them last time. Do I think they'll embarrass them this time? No, I think it'll be a little bit closer, but I just don't see it with Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels. I don't think it's a good arrangement. Versus East Tennessee State, I'll say that's a win, 1-1. At Clemson, that's a loss, 1-2. Versus Notre Dame, come on now, loss, 1-3. At Pittsburgh, I'm going to go loss. And then you're going to hear rumblings because they're 1-4 at this point. Do we fire Bill Belichick? Do we need to get rid of him? So yeah, 1-4. I don't see it, man. At Duke, I picked that as a loss. 1-5. Versus Syracuse, I'll say that's a win. That's a home game. 2-5. Versus Miami, that's a loss. 2-6. At UConn, I think UConn, they're building a program in stores. I'll say that's a loss, man. 2-7. Versus Louisville, that's a loss. 2-8. At Virginia, that's a loss. 2-9. And versus NC State, that's a loss. 2-10. I really don't. They might win 4 games, but that's the best I will say. So I can easily see them going 2-10. They fired Belichick. His girlfriend throws a fit, and it just becomes this huge controversy. and then players are leaving, players are sitting out. It's going to be a mess in Chapel Hill, man. I just don't see it. Yeah, so we'll have UNC 2-10 at best, 4-8. I think Duke's a better team. I do. And they don't have a circus. Like Manny Diaz, he's a better coach than Bill Belichick in college. Okay, I'm not saying in general. We know who's a better coach all around, but in the college landscape, Belichick does not know what he's doing. He got a lot of transfers, yes, but that's not going to translate into more wins. And I don't know. There's a lot of question marks with them. All right, last but not least, because we're not covering every team, we are going to cover Georgia Tech. So Georgia Tech, they lost a lot of guys to the transfer portal, and they lost guys to graduation. Haynes King, that's going to be a huge loss. He was the ACC Player of the Year, rightfully so. He did so much for their offense, man. He was annoying to play against. So if we look at their roster, their QB is going to be Alberto Mendoza. So that's the brother of Fernando Mendoza. Alberto, he played limited snaps because of his brother. When he played, he was good. Do I think he's a bona fide starter? No, I don't. Sorry, guys. I just got to exit out of these ads. They're really annoying. I don't think he's going to be the star of the whole season. I think they're going to alternate. They have Graham Knowles, who's a huge QB, 6'7", 230 pounds. Whoa. Never heard about this kid. But, yeah, he might take over mid-season. I could see that. Grady Adamson, he's the third string. He's probably not going to play. But, I see Mendoza starting half of the games. He could get hurt. And then they throw in Graham Knowles. The running backs, Justice Haynes is one of the best running backs, not just in the ACC, but also in the nation. He's very, very dominant. And the fact that he went from Alabama to Michigan to Georgia Tech, that's telling you something. I think he knows he's from Georgia. I think he knows he's going to run a lot more at Georgia Tech than he did at Michigan and Alabama. They'll run first offense. Fernando's brother Alberto can definitely run and be a dual threat QB if need be. So, yeah, that guy is talented. I think Justice Hayes is going to really help them. They also have Malachi Hosley. Hosley played good. He killed Florida State in the game that we played against them. He's very talented. And they have also Traylon Maddox. who's 6'2", 225. They got some big kids on running backs. Their running backs are good. They have one of the best running back classes of the ACC, in my opinion. Let's look at the receivers. A lot of transfers. Sorry, that's the dog. Jalen Mokwe comes from Alabama. She's dreaming. She does this a lot. Isaiah Furman. Don't know much about him. Javian Plummer. This has become a dog podcast. Their receivers are not that good. I will say that. I'm not impressed by them. Did I cover Jordan Allen? No, I did not. But, he'll probably be decent. Raheem Smith, 5'9", 180. He did not play last season. I guess he redshirted or he got hurt. And then their tight ends, they have free transfers. Chris Corbo, never heard of him. Gavin Harris. Gavin Harris I did cover in the transfer portal. He's decent. Yeah, they got decent tight ends, man. Now let's look at their defense. Kyle Effort. I thought he had a better season the season before compared to this previous season. Yeah, he had more sacks in his sophomore season. So this is really make or break season for him if he wants to be drafted. He's their leader. Let's look at their corners. Jonas DeClona came from USF. Kelvin Hill. Their defense was a big issue last season. I think that's going to hold them back. I think that's going to be more of an issue this season too. Yeah, they don't really. I mean, that's the whole thing. If Kyle Efford, if he plays well, then they can go places. But if he doesn't, it could be a long season for them. Not a lot of interceptions on their secondary. Ty Harris, no, I already covered him. E.J. Lightsay. Christian Garrett. Even their defensive ends, man, I am not impressed at all. Twefque Thomas. He was at Colorado the season before. I think I covered him at the Reels. Tim Griffin. No. Christian Garrett. I already covered him. A.J. Hoffler. Yeah, their defense is weak. Oh my gosh. Zachary Toby. Yeah, if I'm pressing on the same guy over and over again, it means I am tired. All right, let's look at their schedule. I'm not impressed by their roster. They have some guys. Their offense will be better than their defense, but their defense is very weak. That was the biggest issue with them last season. All right. Graham Knowles could definitely be the QB instead of Alberto Mendoza. I can definitely see that coming up. And I might be wrong. I'm just spitballing. That's what I'm seeing on these depth charts. They could definitely say Graham Knowles is the star and Alberto Mendoza is the backup. But I think Mendoza went there because he believes he will be the starter. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what they do here. All right, let's look at their schedule. So they start off against Colorado. It's a home game. I'm going to pick Georgia Tech. I think Colorado has more question marks, and their roster is very weak compared to what they used to be with Shedeur Sanders and why am I blanking on the guy? He won the Heisman. Played corner and receiver. Travis Hunter. Sorry, folks. That's what happens when you're recording at 11:15 at night. So Colorado's not the same team they used to be. So I'm going to say that's a win. So they start off 1-0. They play against Tennessee. It's a home game. I'm picking Tennessee. I don't see Tennessee losing that game. That could be a blowout. That's a primetime game. Oh my gosh. So yeah, they're 1-1. Mercer, that's a win. 2-1. At Stanford, I'm going to say that's a win. I know it's a West Coast game. I know it's at 10:30 at night for them. Stanford's not good. I think Stanford is a tier below Georgia Tech. So I'll say that's a win. So you got they're at 3-1. Versus Duke, I said that was a win for them too. 4-1. At Virginia Tech, 4-2. I think they'll lose at Virginia Tech. Versus Boston College, that's a win. So they're 5-3. Hang on one second. I'm gonna count these up. Colorado, that's a win. Versus Tennessee, that's a loss. Mercer, that's a win. So 2-1. At Stanford is a win. 3-1. Versus Duke is a win. 4-1. At Virginia Tech is a loss, 4-2. Versus Boston College, that's a win, 5-2. At Pitt, that's a loss, 5-3. Versus Louisville, that's a loss, 5-4. At Clemson, that's a loss, 5-5. Versus Wake Forest, that's kind of a toss-up, but because it's at Georgia Tech, I'll take the Yellow Jackets. So they're 6-5, and then at Georgia, obviously, that's a loss. And I think that's going to be played in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They always do that. The last couple of years they've done that as a neutral site. So, yeah, I'll go with 6-6 at best. They could be 5-7 at worst. So that will cover that. So, yeah, they could win 6 games, but they could also lose 7 games. So, folks, that is it with the preview for the first 6 teams of the ACC. Obviously, I would do all 18 if I wanted to, but I'm exhausted. And I'm going to just break it down, 6 teams a night. So we'll do part 2 tomorrow. So far I covered, just to run this down again, I covered Miami, Florida State, Clemson, Duke, UNC, and Georgia Tech. So tomorrow we'll cover Virginia Tech, Louisville, so yeah, we'll cover Georgia Tech. Oh no, what am I saying? We'll cover Virginia Tech, Louisville. Who else? Virginia. I'll cover Stanford tomorrow. Let me write this down so I don't forget. So again, I'm trying to just multitasking here. So I said VTech, Louisville, Virginia, Stanford. Who else? I'll say Cal and Pitt. Yeah, that sounds good. So, yeah, tomorrow we'll cover Virginia Tech, Louisville, Virginia, Stanford, Cal, and Pitt. Thank you, guys. I appreciate if you stood for this hour, 35-minute podcast. Again, I'm trying to dissect team by team, look at these rosters, see what pops out to me. Again, I really like Miami to win the ACC, and I think Clemson will surprise people. I think they can win 11 games, maybe 10 games, like at worst 9-3. They have a very easy schedule. My Seminoles, I just don't see it with them. They are 3-9, maybe 4-8 at best. I think they're going to really regress this season. I think the Tar Heels are a 2-10 team. They might go 3-9 at best or 4-8. It's not going to work with Bill Belichick, man. Georgia Tech, I'm not impressed. I think they're a 6-6 team. And then Duke, they're also middle of the pack as well, being like 5-7 at best, 6-6. So I hope you all liked it. Again, we're just learning as we go. I really like doing the share screen because now you guys can see what I'm trying to say instead of me like typing it in. I actually can show you what I'm looking at and what I'm analyzing. So I really enjoyed it. And again, like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll do part 2 of the ACC predictions tomorrow. Thank you guys, and love you all.